So let's look at another type of reading questions in the IELTS. True, false, or not given, or yes, no, and not given. Exactly the way you answer them are exactly the same. The only difference that true, false, or not given, you're going to always find them with passage number 1. They're talking about facts. Yes, no, and not given, passage number 2, or passage number 3, because they're asking you about opinions. Okay? How do you answer this type of questions? Number 1, these questions, you have to understand that the questions are in the same order as the information in the text. They're always going to be in order, right? True means that the information is paraphrased in the passage. You're going to find the keywords exactly paraphrased in the passage, not exactly the same, paraphrased. False, that the information is not mentioned, contradicts what's mentioned in the passage. False, it's going to be, not given, it's not in the passage. And usually the not given informations are logically, they make sense. I'm not asking whether this information is true, false, or not given. I'm not asking if this information is true or false in reality. I'm asking you if this information is mentioned in the passage, opposite ones mentioned in the passage, or not mentioned in the passage at all, although it's right. Okay? So how do you answer these questions? Number 1, read the sentences, underline for the keywords. Scan backwards so you don't read a lot, okay? Then when you locate the keywords, remember, try to locate first the words that do not change, keywords that you don't change, like any word that starts with capital letter, numbers. If you cannot find capital letters or numbers, look for phrases. If you cannot find phrases, look for root words. Okay? Once you find the keywords that they do not change, read the sentence itself, the sentence after, below, or maybe the sentence above if you cannot find the answer in this or this sentence. Then afterwards, look for the keywords. Okay? The words are going to be paraphrased. They're not going to be exactly the same. If you find the exact same words, that means that this is a trick. Now, let's look at an example from the same exam that we were looking at. So this is a different passage. It's your choice, or is it really? You're going to survey it as we talked about, but let's look, because I surveyed it, let's look at the questions. Now, doctors here. So the first keyword is doctors makes decisions according to the symptoms that patients describes. So doctors make decisions, symptoms patients describe. So I'm going to look quickly. Usually the first question, you're going to find it in the first paragraph. Okay, here. I found the word doctor. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So I'm going to read the sentence from the beginning. At the other time, the stakes are higher, such as deciding which symptoms. I found another keyword. To report to the doctor. However, the fact that we are accustomed to processing large amount of information does not mean that we are better at it, right? So here they talked about the doctor and the symptoms, but did they talk about anything that make decisions? It's common, it's sense, it makes sense. The doctor make decisions according to the symptoms that the patient gives, but at the same time, they didn't talk about it. It was not mentioned in the passage. They only said that we report only this part of the symptom, that symptoms that the patients describe the symptoms to the doctor. They didn't say that he make any type of decision, right? So this one is going to be not given. Now, our ability to deal with a lot of input material. So ability, deal with input material, improved over time. We're going to start scanning quickly. However, the fact that we are accustomed to processing large amount of information here, accustomed to large amount of information does not mean that we are better at it. We is our ability, right? Accustomed to processing large amount of information does not mean that we're better at it, right? So if you look here, our ability to deal, we are accustomed. A lot of input material, large amount of information has improved over time. In the passage, they said that we're not better at it. So this one is going to be false. Okay? And these questions, they come in order. We tend to know when we have made an error of judgment. We again tend to know made, we know, we know when we made an error of judgment, right? Our, again, it's our here. Our sensory and cognitive system, this is we, have systematic ways of failing, of which we are often, so failing, which we are often unaware, perhaps blissfully unaware. So this is not important because it's between two commas, right? Not important at all. We're looking for the keywords. So our sensory and cognitive systems, this is we. When we have made an error of judgment, we tend to know. We said here unaware, right? And an error of judgment is like failing, right? A legal trial could be significantly affected by change of blindness. So we have legal trial affected by change of blindness. So we want to look for a legal trial. So this paragraph is talking about, imagine that you're walking in your local tourist approaches, you asking you for directions. So this is an example of a tourist asking for direction, right? Over the change, here they started talking about change blindness, right? Phenomena have been replicated many times, especially not worthy by experiment, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then you have, if you look at the last sentence here, criminal proceeding, it's a legal trial, and you have change of blindness here, right? Suggesting that, if you read the sentence, out of the 80 participants, blah, 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 did not notice the change of burglary identity, suggesting that change blindness may have serious implication for criminal proceedings. So if you look at our sentences here, legal trial, criminal proceeding, affected, implication by change of blindness, right? So we found all the keywords. That means that this one is true. Okay? So this is an example of not given, false, and true statements in the reading.